I'm an absolute lover of all things timber, carpentry and joinery, and I've always had a big fascination with the Japanese carpentry, the birthplace of carpentry indeed. And now Japan House has got another exhibition. It's called the Craft of Carpentry, and I've been lucky enough again to have a little bit of access before the general public come in to have a deep dive and look at some of the amazing exhibits here. And I'd like to take you along on that journey. Welcome to the Carpentry Show on Fix Radio. I'm your host, Robin Clevett, with you for the next hour.
Nailed it, brilliant. And then literally, you step inside, and that's perfect because they're opening in 10 minutes. Yeah.
So real behind the scenes, Rob, of the radio show.
This is what happens in the radio, which is a great opportunity. And if you haven't taken the Carpentry Show podcast, you better try it because we've got a really lovely following. We've got a wonderful community. You don't have to be a carpenter to listen to it because we talk about all kinds of things as well.
Let's go to the basement to record that.
Yeah.
I think the best way to do this would just be to set up the show. So I'm Robin Clevett from the Carpentry Show here at Japan House.
I'm Robin Clevett and I'm lucky enough to be here at Japan House in London. Now I came here a couple of years ago to look at the Carpenters line and I was absolutely blown away to the point where I think Japan House is now one of my most favourite places to come just to have a wander around in peace and look at some of the amazing craft and products and culture from Japan, somewhere I'd really love to come one day. So Tessa, you're going to give me a little look round and show me what the exhibition's all about for the benefit of our listeners.
Absolutely. So the Craft of Carpentry is a collaboration that we've been doing with a museum in Kobe called the Takanaka Carpentry Tours Museum. This incredible museum in Kobe that looks at this very rich history of woodworking in Japan that has influenced all sorts of areas of Japanese cultures. So we're thrilled to be able to show this to audiences in the UK, an aspect of Japanese cultures that they might not be as familiar with. So the exhibition starts by looking at the different kinds of tools that are used in this woodworking practice. So you'll see a kind of big wall of about 80 tools as you come in. These are just some of the tools needed to build a house. I think it's about 150 tools in total. We've also got some demonstrations of planes. So Shady shaped the woods very, very thinly. I'm sure you'll be able to talk about this better than I can, but we were really lucky to have one of the world champion planers here for the preview as well, who can shave a piece of wood thinner than the width of a human hair, which was very impressive to see.
It is incredible when I look at these tools. Now you mentioned that there's a number that you need to build a house. Now this is going back to building by hand primarily, and looking at some of these amazing tools. Quite a lot of these would have been crafted by hand as well. So these craftspeople are that skilled that not only can they build a house with hand tools seriously intricately as well, they can also make their own tools, including the metalwork needed to make a blade or get an edge on that sort of stuff. So these are from that museum, are they?
Yes, absolutely. Everything that you'll see today has either been built specifically for this exhibition or has come from the museum in Kobe. So yes, you can see these planes over the top of the artwork just to kind of demonstrate how thin they are, because you can see the painting behind it almost perfectly.
Now there's a little doorway here. What's that represent?
So as you come into the second section of the exhibition, there's a small doorway you have to come through, which kind of forces you to bow a little bit as you come in. This is kind of indicative of what you'd see in a tea house, and forces people to kind of show deference as they're entering the building. So we wanted to kind of replicate that as you're going in, to show deference to the forest and the amazing craft that you're about to see.
So I'm now walking through. It's not that little for me, you know. It might be little for some of the guys like Ed who I work with, who are about 6'6", but so we've bowed down and now we're inside.
So the first section of the exhibition looks at one of two areas of carpentry that we're going to see. This is Sukiya Daiku, which is Sukiya carpentry, which looks at mostly tea house building, but also other types of residential buildings, so that you can see kind of the deconstructed panels here, suggest how they kind of go into building some of those things before you'd add plastering and everything else. So it's amazing to kind of see the process and the skill needed to create some of these things.
There's one here that I recognise looks a little bit like lath and plaster, or wattle and daub, in fact, if you go back even further. But in true Japanese style, it's not clumsy at all. Even the structure that will hold the plaster material is beautifully made, and it's very, very thin and light. I think that's the key, is everything looks thin, engineered and light.
What I think is most impressive is the shaping the wood so that it can sit perfectly on a stone. I think that's such an amazing skill that I'm sure not everybody can do.
No, absolutely. And what you're talking about here is poles of timber, so cylindrical timbers, okay, and then they might be sitting on what we might use as the saddle stone, which is dead square. What the Japanese are using in some cases the rock on the ground, which is of course uneven, and then so they're scribing a profile around that column onto that stone, which is very impressive.
It really is. And we're lucky enough to have in the exhibition a full-scale replica of a tea house, so people can actually see what it looks like, all of the very intricate woodwork that goes into building one.
I mean, I can't believe that A, this has been made, and B, it's been made and brought to London for us to see, including the examples of the stones at the bottom with the scribes, including all of this amazing lattice which forms the panels that would get rendered, the sliding doors. But let me ask you about the little door. What's this small door for? It looks like something a gerbil wants to get through.
Well, that's how you would enter and exit the tea house.
Really?
Well. So, yes, it is very small, but as I say, it kind of forces you to kind of show deference to what you're about to do, which is half the way of the tea ceremony inside.
My guess is it takes a lot more than one person to create this,
It does.
because the amount of work and joints in it is unbelievable, and then the difference of material, straight stuff, flat stuff, round stuff, bamboo, but it's beautiful. Everything's polished and everything's sort of really nicely finished. It's not like it's just been cut with a chainsaw and put together. It is absolutely amazing.
It's very impressive, and we were really lucky enough to have a lot of the Japanese carpenters come over and build this in situ in the exhibition, and you can actually see on our YouTube channel a time lapse of the whole tea house being built for the exhibition.
That's brilliant.
So this is the other type of carpentry that we have in the exhibition. This is domiya daiku, which is looking at temple and shrine carpentry, and we've got a 1:2 scale replica of part of a temple here, just so you can see some of the incredibly intricate woodwork that goes into building one.
This is what I always imagine Japan's all about. You look at these amazing, the first thing I think of is you see these roofs of these temples, and they're not just like a straight rafter, you know, everything, the eaves are curving out, you've got this beautiful detail. Now seeing this, the actual construction of this here, and how the strength is being brought by huge, what look like full logs that go from eave to ridge over the top of what would be the wall plate. And you've got these corbels, and these corbels are like a lattice of joints, and they get bigger and bigger to spread the weight of the roof, to decrease the span between them. It is just amazing. And again, most of this would have been done by hand up until probably recently.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see kind of behind the model all of the different individual parts that go into it, as well as a lot of the templates that they would create to build these different parts to create the full thing.
Yeah, they have drawn a rod. So we draw rods as well, which is, we might use a sheet of ply. In this case, there's several sheets of ply, it's that big. And they've drawn a full-size replica of the parts. Now, some of these rafters, they've got a straight top, but they're curving. They've got grooves, which allows for some of their sheathing material to go in, or their ceiling paneling to go in. They've got a whole series of mortises. They're all on the angle. There's nothing simple and straight. And even the work that goes into the rods, like they look like huge propellers, which is effectively the rafter, and they're using this as their templates. It is absolutely unbelievable. I don't think I've seen carpentry work like this ever anywhere.
And you can see just how much time and skill has to go into building something like this.
Do you think that these craftsmen make these templates and keep them forever? Because they look like a work of art as well. It's not the sort of thing you want to make and remake.
They do, don't they? Well, I think if I was making it, I'd certainly want to keep some of these. I'm not sure if they do, but it's amazing to have all of the examples here. Yeah, they look like artworks in themselves, as you say.
So these are nearly 60 years old, some of these boards, and they've been, I mean, so accurately drawn.
And then we go into the final section, which is Kigumi, looking at the different types of joints that are used in these types of buildings.
Right.
Many of these joints don't use any nails at all. That's partially because Japan experienced a bit of a iron shortage in its history, so many of these were kind of created out of necessity, but you'll see as you go around the kind of ingenuity and the skill and just the sheer cleverness of all of these joints that can withstand things like earthquakes. and snow and all of the elements that would be experienced by building in Japan.
I think, Tessa, that's my biggest fascination, actually, being a joiner. And actually, I mean, I do make joints that don't need any metal work or glue, using, you know, wedges and all kinds of different connections and dovetails. But this is on a completely different scale, because what we're looking at is very fine small works where you'd imagine some decorative joints, but we've also got posts and columns and beams which are incredibly jointed together. And it's beautiful to see, and this has been engineered to work. You know, it's not like, this is not for fun, this isn't for decor or competition, it's just something else.
It's really hard to fathom that these kind of intricate patterns and things can literally hold up entire buildings.
No, it's absolutely amazing. So I can also see, as we walk towards this part of the exhibitions, a lot more joints here, some that I recognise, some that we would do a similar take on here in the UK, like a scarf joint. I got well known for doing a scarf joint some years ago on YouTube, and since then people are using them a lot more, thankfully, and I think that that's the thing we need to especially share our knowledge, but also take from the incredible work that we see around the world. There's a lot of things that I'm looking at here at Japan House that I think that we could apply in construction, especially to reduce the amount of metal that we're using. In some materials, for example oak, you can only use stainless steel, so that's why we tend to do a joint as opposed to using metal.
There's a big kind of sustainability message behind this exhibition as well. One of the carpenters, one of the master carpenters who came to visit, talks about people talk about wood and trees as a renewable resource, which is true, but he also says if a tree is 1,000 years old and you cut it down, you have to get 1,000 years of use out of that. It's not just we can use as many trees as we want. They have a huge amount of respect for the forests and the woodland, and that very much comes through in the kind of skill and love they use to create these joints and these buildings, and how they go on to use the wood.
Yeah, and I learnt last time that I came here that you've got hundreds of indigenous species. You've got more different species of trees than quite a lot of other places. I think we have about 60 or 40 to 60 in the UK. You've got like 160 or something like that.
For a lot of the kind of more rural building and the shrine building, they will use trees from different parts of the mountain. A lot of the trees will come from mountainous areas, although about 2/3 of the Japanese archipelago is covered in forest, so they have trees all over. And they say that different parts depending on where the trees have grown on the mountain depends on what it should be used for the building. So trees that are grown higher up might be used for one part of the building, trees that are grown lower down might be used for another, but I'm not
amazing.
sure about the...
Absolutely amazing. So that's an amazing insight. So I'm going to have a little look round with my guests. I've got a couple of guests with me today. I've got Ed Harris, who is, I always say he's my apprentice, he's not, he's far more than that now, he's a fantastic carpenter. I've also got Frank Schipano. Frank has been on the show, guest on the show, award-winning carpenter from Australia, and also new to the show, Joshua Lewis. You all know him from social media. He's an incredible carpenter, and he's also joined us here to take a look around, so keep tuned. What do you think so far?
I think this is absolutely amazing. This is our second time here, and I'm really glad to be back to enjoy and immerse ourselves in Japanese craft. So it's really interesting to be back. I'm happy.
Yeah, so standout features for you here?
I couldn't list one, there's so many to look at, but I think the roof structures for us mainly is probably a really interesting point, because we spend a lot of our time on roofs creating them, and we've done a lot of joint work with oak recently.
We certainly have. Now, I mean, I think if you look at this roof, I mean, where do you start and how long is that going to take? I mean, when you think about building and carpentry in the UK, you've got basically people saying to us, how quickly can you get here, mate? How much is it going to cost? Where's the cheapest place to get timber, and all of those things. Now what we're looking at here is a part of a structure half full size, right? And it is so detailed because you've got so many elements. It's not just like a rafter, is it? You've got like a ceiling rafter that you're looking at, then you've got a structural bit over the top of that, then you've got the bit that takes the actual roof finish, which may be like they use like a big terracotta tile or something like that. I mean, where do you start with something like that?
I mean, I'm not sure they were worried about cost or speed when building something like this. There's a few things on this roof that really stand out for me that are different to European building or how we build. And if you look at those rafters, they haven't got a bird's mouth. The wall plate, or what the rafters sit on, is actually angled to take the square PAR timber on top. And you've got all this square timber on a roof, and then there's suddenly just a log which is perfectly scribed in, an organic natural log, perfectly scribed into all this PAR straight, beautiful timber. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, you're right there actually. And in fact, that would actually speed things up, wouldn't it? So if you're actually working with timbers that aren't bird's mouthed over and you've got so many of them, it's going to speed things straight up. So I can see straight away where their techniques and skills have been developed, that they can create these incredible structures that look super, super complex. Yet they've removed some of the fiddly bits to allow as well for movement in the timber, because it's all over the place. Could you imagine trying to do that traditionally?
Yeah, I mean it's incredible. And things like on the tea house that we were looking at earlier, they've got panels on the side which are all jointed together by a bow tie, and that's something we would only ever use every now and then as a decorative feature in a table or something really, really special or ornate.
Yeah,
and it's just a standard building practice that they have got dovetail joints on these panels joining them together. It's incredible.
What do you think about if someone said to you, oh, make something like this?
Instantly, I'd be absolutely thrilled and absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
It's both of those. What an honour to build something like that. And I'd have to spend a lot of time doing research and doing a lot of learning to get even close to some of the skill on this building. But I'd love to take on the opportunity. You know, I'd leave this one for you to price, because I'm not sure you can get close to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the roof shingles themselves, there is no gap between any of them. It looks like a solid piece of timber, but obviously they are all separate bits. It's incredible. You could look around this all day and you could find new bits every time you look.
And how about these rocks where they've scribed the legs into the rocks there?
Yeah, the saddle stones. I mean, everything's jointed. You know, you've got the large dovetails on the bits around the window to hold the plaster. Everything's got a mortise and tenon. Everything slots together. The scribes are perfect and beautiful. I mean, you couldn't get close, could you?
Right, tools, Ed. Now we've got a lot of tools. Okay, a lot of ours have power attached to them. Now look at some of their tools with all of their little planes and their chisels.
So I've got a massive fascination around Japanese tools. From my chefing days, all of my equipment were Japanese knives, handcrafted, very expensive but beautiful things that you can appreciate and which will work really well. So when you use a Japanese tool, you have to appreciate the craft that's gone into it.
We have a lot to learn, I think, about this kind of culture of carpentry from Japan. I don't think we'd ever be able to achieve what the Japanese do. And also, the Japanese have a completely different outlook on life, I think, especially the carpenters. I mean, we come into it because it's a job that we need to do. We need a lot of carpenters. We need to build 1.3 million homes, which is a ridiculous amount of homes within a term of government, which isn't going to happen, I hasten to add.
It's such incredible skill. It's inspiring.
I mean, the Germans have some amazing technology now with some of their 5-axis CNC saws that can actually replicate this stuff as well in minutes. So technology is, people used to say you could never, trades can never be replaced because you need to do it with your hands. But actually, in some aspects, thanks to technology, it's bridging the gap between these incredible skills and skills that have been lost. It's a double-edged sword. We're moving really forward in some areas and backwards. Humans are going backwards and machines are going forward, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that's why I think it's super important to keep the craft alive and show things like this within this setting where people can appreciate it, the layman can appreciate it in such a way. You don't have to be a carpenter to enjoy any of the stuff that you're seeing today, and it's just about keeping the trade alive, I think, and keeping the skills fresh.
Yep, totally agree with you. Nice one, Ed.
Thank you.
Joining me is fellow carpenter Joshua Lewis. What are your first thoughts of the exhibition?
You just don't know where to look.
I know.
There's so many different things to look at, whether it's tools, the materials,
Yeah.
the templates here. Like, you just look at something like that and you think, where the hell are you going to start?
I know from meeting with you and talking with you, and we talked all about your apprenticeship, and you work with a very good small local firm, and you did some quite tricky jobs in airports, which was joinery, where you had to go in out of hours and do this incredible joinery. You showed me some pictures of that. So you're used to working to a fine level commercially. You're used to having to deliver a project, and now you're self-employed. You're out there doing it for yourself. Imagine the process that goes into what the Japanese are doing, and relate that to what you're doing every day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, just even learning the Japanese craft is going to be 10 times longer. I'm always looking to expand my knowledge, learn more.
Yeah.
Every day I want to learn more.
Yeah. What do you think of the way the Japanese are exhibiting their roof structures here?
You take one look at that and you just think, where am I going to start? Like, I wouldn't even be able to put a time scale on that.
Yeah.
It's just, everything's just housed in, everything's, like, there's no fixings. Everything's just housing perfectly, planes all round, hand planes.
Yeah.
There's been no power tools on that.
And you can't see one knot in a lot of that timber, can't you?
That's the great thing. Like, you wouldn't be able to do anything like this with the sort of materials we're getting hold of, whether it's softwood or hardwood. it's just, again, it's a different league of timber.
Could you imagine how much money's worth of timber would go into one of those temple pagoda type roofs?
It'd be astronomical.
It would. I mean, I'm just looking at this one section that we see here, which is half full size, which is about 2 meters wide. It stands about 3 meters tall, and it's on 2 columns, so it's actually very balanced as well. And they've demonstrated how good the balance is by just having 2 columns, and then they've got all of these intricate joints and corbels that are holding up the wall plates, the rafters, the under rafter as well, and it's just incredible. But the amount of timber in that, if there's not 4 or 5 grand's worth of timber in just that bit there, I'd be absolutely amazed. And the tea house, what do you think of that?
Something I've never seen before, and it is something like you would think it would be in someone's garden, but no, they have it as a place where the community goes to.
Yeah, and all of their traditions, like the tiny little door where you've got to go in, you've got to bow effectively. They're forcing us to bow and stuff like that. It's
I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, I do. I think it's incredible. So now I'm joined by Frank Schipano, award-winning carpenter from Australia, been out on site with me, shadowing us and seeing what we do. So you've seen what we do, you've seen our work with oak and the oak cladding that you helped us with. What do you think of what you see here?
Yeah, I thought you guys were good, but this is another level. It's honestly crazy to see. I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, to see the Japanese carpentry with all the timber and literally nothing else is honestly, mind-baffling.
And I always imagine from Australia to Japan, is it as far as from the UK to Japan?
I think we're a little bit closer than you guys.
Fine. So you could nip over for a long weekend?
Yeah, not a long weekend, I wish. But yeah, a lot of people are going to Japan more commonly now for a holiday.
Right.
And yeah, it's definitely next on the bucket list for me.
Yeah, well, I think that I'll probably meet you out there, because I think that what we're seeing here at Japan House is absolutely mind-blowing, especially for carpenters, and hearing your take on it as well. So in Australia, what sort of do you have this intricacy at all in construction? Do you have this level of joinery anywhere?
Nah, definitely not. Obviously your cabinet makers and joiners, furniture makers, you'd see a little bit, but for big builds, definitely not. It's not really feasible for us in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're trying to pump out as many homes as we can.
Yeah.
We don't see any art like this anymore, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just sort of the way the world's going at the moment, which is disappointing.
It's funny, isn't it? Because if you think back, especially this, what's helpful about exhibitions like this and the work that Japan are doing to sort of bring this to us, is the fact that this is quite holistic. This has been born out of. The craft has been born out of the ground, effectively. The trees have been grown. People have developed these skills over the years and used what was available to them. Tessa was kindly telling me about the fact that in the forest, depending on the level of the forest, the durability of the tree or the type of application that it would have, all of those things, all of that knowledge has been done without science it's been done by trial and error for 1,000 years. I mean, Australia is probably only, how many years old is Australia?
Yeah, I think, first plate was 1770, so yeah, since that, we're not very old at all.
So by the time Australia was starting, effectively, the Japanese had absolutely mastered, to the point where they've just gone on and kept on mastering it as well. So I feel quite ashamed, actually, the fact that we haven't got this knowledge or ability.
Yeah, definitely.
Or teachings. I think we almost need a Japanese carpentry school here in the UK to actually keep the skills as well and grow them around the world. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. It'd be good to see. Yeah, it is a bit of a dying art.
Yeah.
Especially with the introduction of new machines and tools, which is helping in some sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just takes away from the art of it, I guess.
Yeah, and the roof structure, Frank. This is This is not the sort of thing we'd see in the UK, or even where people have done replicas of pagodas in, I think there's one in Kew, for example, Kew Gardens. There's also a smaller one at Wisley as well. But they're much more simple. You know, we have curves and we have nice roof details, but they're much more simple. And what we're actually looking at here is practicality as well, because a lot of the sections are small, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, apart from the main structural elements, which are much more natural, felled, so literally, you know, bark off logs, everything else is fairly slight. So there's not like that they're using huge sections of timber.
Yeah, it's crazy how it's just standing up. I haven't seen a single fixing yet. And
no.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't even know where to start with this.
Yeah, no, I think most people wouldn't as well. So any other sort of outstanding things that you can see here at Japan House?
I'm loving all the joints for extending timbers. So for whenever they're spanning stuff.
Yeah.
The mines and that, they're self-explanatory why you do it. But just, extending the joints of timber is, it's crazy.
It is, and they've got this computer screen showing that this particular section of joints, we've got a huge post, which is at least 300 mil square, and we've got some beams here which are around about 500 tall and about 200 wide, and they're standing out exactly perfectly, aren't they? I mean, the weight of that, and they're showing how by pushing the joint in and slotting some wedges in where you'd never imagine they would go, they're actually doing the job without any mechanical fixing. There's loads of models here to see, and there's also some to touch and feel and play with as well. So brilliant, Frank. That's absolutely fantastic, mate. And I look forward to seeing you a bit later on today. We're going to have a good look around the exhibition and catching up with you in a couple of months' time to see how your journey has been. We've had a really good look around and it's absolutely fascinating. What do you think, Ed? Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I would urge you, if you're anywhere near, to come and have a look. It's on until the 6th of July. Even if you're not a carpenter, you can still enjoy and appreciate everything here. And it's, if anything, it's just inspiration. If you're feeling a little bit fed up at work or what you're doing is too repetitive, come here, inspire yourself, and honestly, just you're missing out if you're not going to come here. Yeah, so I agree with Ed. If you get the chance, come down, have a look. Japan House as well is the most beautiful, calm place to come. You can have refreshments here and food. So yeah, get down here and enjoy it, okay? Because this is what life is all about. What do you think? I agree, yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you soon. So that's it for today's carpentry show here on Fix Radio, and it's been an amazing opportunity for us to come down. I'd like to thank Japan House for giving us the time to have a look around the exhibition, and of course the lads for joining me. Please make sure you check out the Carpentry Show podcast from wherever you get your podcasts. Download it and listen today. Thanks for listening.
Nailed it. Brilliant.